Good morning. It's a little early. Clearly, I have some worked out. Oh gosh, I'm mighty. It's early. Let's start with that. Welcome to the July card class. We've been doing this via Zoom or online Facebook Live for over a year now, and just started back to in-person classes, which has kind of thrown off the schedule for having a Facebook Live or a Zoom for that class. So clearly that's a work in progress because the in-person class took place yesterday afternoon, and I had hoped to have a video ready to post at the same time, and I didn't. So it is the morning after that class, which is good news, bad news, because now real people have experienced it, and I might have made some tweaks or adjustments based on what I learned in my class yesterday. But we had a fabulous time in person, and I hope that if you are local, that you're able to join us sometime as well. In just a few weeks, I'll be able to offer the two different times for this class so that hopefully one of them will work in your schedule. So I have resigned from my full-time day job and will be working Stampin' Up! Full-time starting in September. So getting ready for that, making lots of plans, would love your input on what you would like to see, and we'll do our best to make that happen. So today I'm going to show you the cards that we designed for the In Symmetry July 2021 card class. And this is a class that is free with a purchase, a minimum qualifying purchase, or you can pay a flat $20. In just a second, I'm going to show you what's included excuse me, in that class pack, and walk you through maybe what's different about being here in person versus taking the class to go. So I'm going to switch cameras. Gosh almighty. The struggle is real some days. So it is Friday. And so what do I have here? So these are the 4 card designs. So there is this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one. So as you can see, we repeated this design, basic design, 3 times, and changed up the colors and made it look entirely different. We also switched up the leaves a little bit. And then we switched up the flowers on this last one. This last card is all stamping. It's white, a lot of white space, and just basic, easy cards with a lot of punch. So let me see if I can get these back in the order they go, and I will show you what is in your card kit. So whether you are here in person or you take the class to go, you have access to the tutorial. So there's a page for each of the cards with a supply list and instructions. And you can use whichever version you like. You can print this out, or you can access the digital version. That way you can enlarge that photo. If a card ever needs more than one photo, then I'll try and include that or highlight something in the video each month. So I'm going to set that right there. Then you'll have a card, your pack, okay, your supplies. And in that you'll have, so this time you have a little piece of ribbon. Okay, so you're going to cut that in half because you make 2 cards. There are 4 designs, but you make 2 of each. And then you have 2 pieces of this twine. You have this strip of soft sea foam, which also you'll cut in half. Some rhinestones that you can actually color with a Stampin' Blend for one of the cards. And then each design is kind of layered in here like this. So here's card 1 with the supplies for each card. And then card 2 again. And when I say each supplies, so your card base, the inside of your card, and then the layers for the outside. This first card, I've just glossed right over this, actually includes designer series paper and some die cutting. That's already been cut and prepped for you. So here's your designer series paper. the label you're going to stamp on, the matte layer, 2 pieces of white. Trust me, there are 2. One is for the inside of your card because this is a relatively dark background, and one for the card front. So I've done all the hard work, and it's not hard work. I've done all the work and left the fun for you, or for us to do together. And then here again, this is another one that has some die cutting, and that's already done. And then the last one just has the white. Okay, so now let's get started. I'm going to put these back in here so that I don't lose them. So our first card is this card, and this is Calypso Coral ink and Just Jade ink. You'll need your adhesive Tombow glue or a tape runner, as well as Stampin' Dimensionals. And then the circles are cut with the Layering Circles dies. All of those supplies are listed with their item codes in the supply list here. So you'll have, you'll know what you need to order following your class. All right, I'm going to put this right here so I have my directions over here so I can give you the measurements as we go. If you purchase a class kit or purchase a minimum qualifying order, I will send you the tutorial so you'll have it so that you can print. Actually, I've already printed several, so I would send those with them. All right, so for the first card, I've got my pieces here. And your patterns may vary slightly. There are 2 patterns that would work well for this and 2 patterns that would work well for this. So if your patterns are a little different, that's just fine. So we're going to put this about 1/2 inch in, and we can go ahead and adhere that down, and then that will give us an idea of where to stamp our greeting. And I am going to use Stampin' Seal for some of these cards today, and then I'm going to switch up and use Tombow liquid glue and give you an idea of both adhesives. Just get this one started. So with this adhesive, you just kind of roll and then flip your wrist over to break the seal. I'm using our grid paper to help me line up. When you're here in person, you always have a mat. Maybe I should put this on right side up. You always have a mat of grid paper, and that is your scratch pad paper so that you can test out your stamping before you actually stamp it on your card. Okay, then this piece is going to go like so. And then this one is going to go about here. Okay, so this is my area. So I might want to raise that up a little bit so that I have this area to stamp in. And I'm going to stamp in Just Jade. So here's my Just Jade ink pad. If you're not familiar with our ink pads, they open like a compact, like an old-fashioned compact. And then you can slide it closed. This color strip and the strip that's right here are on the back of your ink pad when you first get it, so that you can peel this off and then place them. This is a great reminder of what color you're working with, so as you have multiple ink pads open, which I don't recommend, but it all happens to all of us, you can see quickly which one you're working with. Oops, that is not the one I want first, is it? I want, thanks so much. And this is a D block that I've put it on, but as you can see, it could go on a smaller block. A C block would be fine. And I'm just tap, tap, tap. This is a gentle tap. And I'd intentionally put these off I don't know, catty corner, crooked on the block so that my eye will follow the stamp and not the edge of the block when I'm trying to line this up. And I'm going to stamp straight down, apply a little pressure, and lift straight up. And I'll just keep this handy right here. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that with that stamp with a chamois. The chamois is my preferred cleaning, but there's a scrub as well. All right, I'm going to set that right there for a second and do the stamping on my circle. I'll put this back. And I'm going to grab the Calypso Coral. I've been doing a lot of organizing in my craft room recently, partly to prepare for the change and partly because it was long overdue. So I'm almost ready to do a little video tour for you. And forgive me, I did not make sure that card class, okay. Looks like I am where I think I am. And hopefully my camera is focusing well. All right, so I want this nearish to the top. How about that? And this is a pretty solid stamp, so I'm going to hold it for just a few seconds. I don't have to press it through the table or anything like that, but I'm holding it for a few seconds to transfer the ink from the stamp to the paper. And there, I've gotten a beautiful image. Now, the hardest part in yesterday's class was working with this stem. And there's kind of two reasons for that. One, it is a tiny little stamp, right? That when it's tiny like this, it makes it really easy to rock your stamp and get a blurry image. It also makes it a little challenging to put it on the block straight. So a couple of things you can do. You can lay it down gently and then pick it up with your block. Or if you're working with grid paper and you want this to be in a straight line, line it up on a line on your grid paper and then pick it up. Whoops, and I just flipped, no. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and I'm just going to stamp this a single time. Some of these other cards, we need to stamp it and overlap a bit, and that's where the challenge came in. If that proves to be challenging for you, there are lots of stamp sets with stems, and you can grab a longer stem from it, or take your marker and draw a stem image, or recognize that stems aren't straight in nature, and it's okay if yours isn't straight. And also that you've got some opportunities, you will have some opportunities to kind of hide any flaws that you see. Now, they're not flaws, really. Okay, this is art. Everyone is so grateful to receive your cards. They're not looking to say, oh my gosh, she got that crooked or anything like that. How are they to know that it wasn't intentionally crooked? I am challenged to see things as straight or crooked, so I can promise you I'm never going to know. And I've just stamped that leaf down twice, and again, I gave it just a few seconds to make that transfer. All right. Then, now you can decorate the inside of your cards. I'm not going to do that while we're here today, just for the sake of time. I need to clean those. So I'm just giving these, when your chamois comes, it's going to be damp and it's going to be light purple. Storing it in a stamp case, a DVD case is a great way to keep it handy and to keep it moist. If it dries out, you just put it back in water and rinse it out. It does take a long time for it to re-wet and become pliable. That's fine. And just rinse it out periodically. It's not necessary to use any detergent on it. These are water-based inks, with the exception of Stays On. You're going to clean that a little differently. And so that's just fine. It comes clean, leaves that faint stain behind, as it does on your photopolymer stamps. They get a little, they can pick up some red on them as well. All right, now we can assemble this card and move on to the next one. I'm going to leave those on blocks because we're going to use them in the next card. So I'm going to put this in the instructions. Anytime I want you to do something what I would call flat, I say adhere. And if it's something different, I'll say attach. So attach with a dimensional, attach with a glue dot, and then I might say adhere these two layers together. If you are going to decorate the inside or stamp another greeting, I recommend that you do that before you put it down. It's not necessary to cover your entire card with adhesive. This adhesive forms a strong seal and it's not going anywhere. I wasn't sure my fingers were going to go anywhere there for a minute. And then so you have until Sunday night to place your order to take advantage of the ordering special. Specials cannot be combined, so if you're shopping the BOGO, then your purchase is for the BOGO. If you are purchasing to get this class, then your purchase goes towards this class. And I want to move this up just a little bit. See, so I told you, strong seal. Now I've got that. Okay, I'm going to switch and move this up just a little bit. And then I'll put this down on the card. This is called a stack. And then I'm going to place dimensionals on this. And for something this size, a single dimensional would hold it, but I'm just going to use 3 out of habit, and to prevent anything from flattening. It will flatten a little bit in the mail. And there you have it. So there is card number 1. I do need to figure out this is not quite focusing the way I would like. Okay, so you're going to make 2 of those. And I'm just going to set mine aside. My mat keeps shifting. I didn't tape it down today. It's hard to believe it is the middle of July. Okay, our next card. I love this card. So this is, we've used 2 of our new in colors on this card. This is Evening Evergreen and Fresh Freesia. I love the coordination here of the card base and the ink color, and then this card layer and the ink color. And I think they're beautiful together, this Fresh Freesia and Evening Evergreen. And then we're going to use that little bit of ribbon that I showed you that was in your kit. My sample I actually stamped in, I think it's stamped in black. But I'm going to continue on with the evergreen color, I think, for it. I'm sorry, I keep looking at, thinking that's a little crooked. Oh, I need to put that like that. So when I make my samples, I take notes on the back as to the measurements and such. And so I'm referring to that to give you those measurements. And I did not tell you what they were for this one, so let me go back and do that. Your card base is 5.5 by 8.5, and then it is scored at 4.25. The white pieces are both 4 by 5.25, or 5.25 by 4. This piece of DSP is 2.75 by 4, and this piece is 4.25 by 2. Okay. And like I said, the tutorial will come with your kit if you purchase the kit with a qualifying order or pay the flat fee. Okay, so I'm going to set my pieces aside. So remember, I've got a piece for the inside because evergreen is very dark. You would have a hard time writing a message on that. And then I'm going to set my fresh freesia aside, and we're going to stamp on this one. And I think I figured out what's wrong with my camera. I need it to be, okay, hold tight. That come. I think that the camera is not aiming. Okay, I will figure this out. Okay, so fresh freesia, and then we're going to use evening evergreen. Now, I want to point out that this coordination is truly amazing. So I have, for this evening evergreen, for all of our colors, well, for most of our colors, okay, if there's an ink pad, there is a corresponding Stampin' Write marker. A lot of our colors now also have a combination Stampin' Blend. These are alcohol markers. So these are basically the same inks in two different formats, and this is an alcohol marker set for blending. And then you have cardstock, and you'll find printed Designer Series papers in those colors as well. And there are different uses for all of those. If you make a boo-boo, then sometimes your marker is quite handy for correcting that or disguising it. You can flick color with this. You see me do that pretty regularly. You can also do that with a Stampin' Blend. You may color rhinestones or pearls with your alcohol markers. We're going to do that today. If you are working with a stamp that has both like a flower and leaves on the stamp, then you can color your floral part with one color and your stem with another using your markers. And what did I just pull out? I'm not ready for evening evergreen. Okay, you locked in. I need my freesia. Where are you? Here you are. So I have all my inks and my markers and my blends over here in a tall storage unit, and it's on a Lazy Susan, which I love. I just spin it around. All right. So now I thought about doing this a couple of different ways. You know, how do I get the spacing right so that I've got room for my greeting in this, and it's a little trial and error. So, you know, feel free to work on your grid paper till you get the spacing that you like. Or I'm just going to eyeball it. What we did yesterday in class when we didn't leave enough space is we just cut a strip of white and stamped our greeting on it and then just laid it over top. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off this title, if I can find my cursor. Where are you? There you are. There. Okay. So I'm just going to eyeball the spacing. cardstock has two sides, so if I goof up on that, I can always turn it over and try again. But I can also add just a strip with the greeting if I need to. This is one where we're going to overlap the stem a little bit. And if you did two lengths of the stem, it would be too far. That would push into your greeting area. All right, that is all for the fresh freesia. Now, don't leave your envelopes naked either. Okay, I'm actually going to stamp on one of these envelopes so I can show you. I'm going to set it out so I remember. I'll clean that in just a second. I'm working with Evening Evergreen. And I think, yes, I did clean it off. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to gently pick up my ink on my stem. And I mean very gently, because it would be so easy to rock that and get ink everywhere. Once you get ink everywhere, it's going to go everywhere. Roughly get that centered. And now if I'm thinking about it, my greeting is going to come towards the bottom here. So my stem, I need about half of the stem. So you could even just ink up half of the stem and then lay it back on top. And there, it managed to line up. But that was kind of tricky in class yesterday. So those are a couple of ideas to help you know how much of the stem that you need. Go ahead and put your greeting down so that you can see where it's going to go. Sometimes these ideas don't come to me until we've experienced it. And we're going to stamp these leaves twice. With this stamp, the detail is debossed into the image. So if you sink this into your ink, you're going to lose some of that detail. So be gentle in your tap, 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 which is kind of hard because you want to make sure you get enough ink. So it is simply practice. And then I'm just going to leave a bit of the stem at the bottom. Oh, I think I bobbled that. Oh, it looks okay. All right, so that's those. Then I'm going to stamp my greeting, and then we're going to stamp this envelope before we put all of this, clean it up and put it away. Now, these photopolymer stamps, they have a lot of give to them. So sometimes getting them straight on the block can be tricky. So remember, you can line it up as you want, but the beauty of some of these fonts is that it's okay if they're not straight. Right, and like I said, I stamped my sample greeting in black, but I'm going to come back and do this one in Evening Evergreen. And there we go. All right, now we'll set this over here for just a second, and we're going to stamp this bottom of the envelope. Or we could stamp back here, or you could do all of that. All right. So I'm actually going to kind of do this in reverse this time. These are big. Maybe I should do my leaves first. Well, I'm okay if it hangs off a little bit, but actually we're just going to see. Okay, this is an experiment. So it is going to come just to the edge. And get the fresh freesia out. You can also decorate your envelopes with the Designer Series paper. same rule applies. You need to apply pressure. And remember, be aware of the flap of your envelope. You might need to fold that out so that it doesn't create a line in your image. But now we have a beautiful envelope that corresponds with our card. Oh, someone is up. Let's see. Good morning. I am crafting early before work. Now, I used metallic pearls on my sample card to decorate it. You can use rhinestones or pearls. Don't feel like you're locked in, but no, metallic pearls are some of my favorite things. I frequently include those in cards, and actually I probably should have embellished this after I got it all adhered, but I was excited and I just did it. This is the Take Your Pick tool, and some of your embellishments you can pick up with the sticky end here. Your tool is going to come with two. It's going to come with a refill of this also. Sometimes you might want to pick it up with the pointed end here, or there's a little paddle end, and then there's also a stylus that comes with this tool. It has two stylus ends. Oh, I just shot pearls across my desk. All right, so let's layer this up. And then I'm going to clean those stamps. Your kit has two pieces of white, and one is larger than the other. The larger one is for the inside, and the smaller one is for your stamping on the front. This inside piece is 4 by 5 1/4. Your fresh freesia piece is 3 3/4 by 5. And then this white piece is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So they just all layer up. I did not put my sample on dimensionals. I think we'll do that on this one so that you can see a difference. Okay. And then I'm just going to cut a little piece of ribbon because I have my spool handy. Just enough for a knot. And then I can trim any excess. So I've just cut a knot. Okay, and then I'm going to use a glue dot to attach this. Okay, I have to find my glue dots. Where'd they go? Okay, I know I took them out of my bag. Does that ever happen to y'all? I know, but I have them. Well, that is, okay. Well, let me grab a pack of glue dots. It's very strange. I will find my original pack about 30 seconds after I do this. I like to pick up my glue dot this way, but that is not the only way by far. Just put that there. Okay, now I've already adhered that. I'm going to put this one down with dimensionals, then I'll trim that piece up. dimensionals, one for the middle to prevent it from sagging, one in each corner. You don't even need to peel those ones in the middle. They're there for lift rather than stick. And then this has a little wider mat, like that. And unfortunately, at this point, Stampin' Up! Is not carrying ribbon scissors. But I highly recommend you at least keep a set of scissors that are reserved for ribbon, because your paper will dull your scissors considerably, and that's hard on ribbon. Okay, and that is card number 2 with the envelope. Card number 3. I think this is my favorite, but I changed that up a little bit. I have not cleaned my stamps yet, so let me do that. We are going to use a stamp. We're going to add a stamp in this one. Bring in one from Watercolor Shapes. And this is where we're going to color rhinestones. Now you could also use a different pack of rhinestones. There's holiday rhinestones. You could use the in color gems. You're not limited. That's just what I used for this. So I need Misty Moonlight. This card is all the ink is Misty Moonlight. And I just re-inked my ink pad, so I'm hoping that it will play nice. We're going to still use this broad leaf, the larger flower, and the stem, and we do need to repeat our stem. We're going to add this thin oval from Watercolor Shapes. And remember, these watercolor shapes intentionally have light and dark spots. Pick that up, and we're going to use soft seafoam as our green here. There you are. All right, so we have a piece of thick basic white, which is 4 1/4 by 11, and then it's scored at 5 1/2. This layer of soft seafoam, be easier to see as individuals, is 4 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4, sorry. Then you have a piece of Misty Moonlight, which is 3 1/4 by 4 9/16. That one's a little tricky, but basically when you cut your label, it's just going to be a tiny bit of border around it. This label is cut from the Color and Contour, no, Scallop Contours is the die set. Remember, that's all in the tutorial that you can purchase. Members of my team have access to my tutorials on within our group. That's always available for free for them. And then with this strip of seafoam that was in our kit, it's about 1/2 inch wide, and that's where we're going to stamp our greeting. So I think that's all of your supplies, and we're going to stamp on here. So I'm going to start at the top with the big flower and work my way down. I'm just looking to see if I've got good. I can look through the image to see if the stamp is well inked. This would also be a good one to use on the Stamparatus, because you could repeat the stamping to get a really vibrant full image. And I want to leave a little room for those gems. So I'm coming down to, whoops, that slid. Oh my gosh. I think that's going to be a blurred image. Holding it just a few seconds to let the ink transfer. I had a lot of ink in there, so I almost lost some of my detail, but I got a really solid image. So here's my stem. And I'm just eyeballing this. I don't want it to be the whole way down, so I'm just going to ink up part of the stem and then do my best to overlap it. And then as long as I've got this Misty Moonlight out, I'm going to grab a piece of soft sea foam, and I need the Hey Friend. All right, and this is tight on this, okay? But I intentionally cut it small. I want the focus to be on the flower. But this is actually just a strip that's left over from cutting the layers. All right, I'm pleased with that one. So I'm going to put this away. Now I need this watercolor oval here. Kind of looks like a putting green when we do this. Decide where you want that light piece to be. Voila. That will dry a little lighter than it looks right now. And I'm going to clean my stamps. And remember, in class, you're always making two. I'm just demonstrating one. All right, once you have got this, oh, I forgot my leaves. Oh my gosh. That looks a little naked, doesn't it? Oh, that's funny. All right, let's add this Misty Moonlight set of leaves here. Yeah. And I need to be more careful because I've got a lot of ink and my stamp is trying to slide when I stamp it down. All right, now that looks complete. Got something in my eye. Okay, I don't have time for that. Go away. Move along. All right, and we are finished with watercolor shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that back on the shelf. This twine is part of a pack. Let's see. It is part of the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack. I'm going to grab some Scotch tape. Because what I want to do is just going to tape that to the back and then tape that and then tape the second end down. That's easier than worrying with a glue dot. And then I'm going to put this here. Now I told you I was going to do some with the tape and some with glue. And so I'm going to adhere this down with the liquid Tombow. Give it a little shake. And then I just need a little squiggle here and there. I try and store my glue point down, and that way the glue is always at the point and ready to go. Then I'm going to slide this almost to the corners. Move this over here to this panel so you can see the contrast better. I mean, so I can see the contrast better. Then with my Hey Friend, I'm trimming this pretty close with my snips. And then I'll put that on with dimensionals once we get it adhered down. And let's go ahead and put these on the card, and then we'll add the rhinestones. So we'll do some more glue. The nice thing about working with the glue is that it gives you a little wiggle room. I always used glue pretty much exclusively until the new Stamp and Seal came out. And the Stamp and Seal is something that is taking a little bit of time to get used to. So I switched to using it so that I could demonstrate how to best use it. So I'm going to put this on dimensionals. And I'm not even going to peel those middle two, because remember, they're not there for stick, they're there for lift. And then dimensionals on this as well. Now, I like to put dimensionals on either side of ribbon when I'm using it so that the stick is to the card and not the ribbon. This is a little tricky because this is only 1/2 inch thick. So I'm going to use more dimensionals than this needs in order to get the stick on the card and not just the ribbon. And then I'm going to let this stick off a little bit. And there you go. Okay, so now the last thing we need to do is to color these rhinestone gems and put them down. And I'm going to grab, so this is Dark Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to take the brush end and I'm just going to go over these rhinestones. And with alcohol markers, you can just keep adding layers of color. And then we'll give them a second to dry. All right, there's that. Oh, my phone is blowing up. Did I clean those yet? I don't even remember. All right, and we can actually, while we're letting those dry, we can put some of these stamps away because we don't need them for the last card. We're going to use different stamps. This stamp set is part of a bundle. It comes with a punch and punches this little leaf shape. I'm going to use this one on the next card. And I used all right. So let's go ahead and pick these little things up and put them on the card. So I've just picked that up with my take your pick, and I'm going to start at the top and work my way out. Oh, I think I did too many. There's not really room for that one. And okay, that one lost its stick when I moved it. In fact, it left it there. I'm okay with that. There you go. So there is card 3. And now we're ready to move on to card 4. Card 4 is all stamping, and it was intended to be the easier card, but the need for spacing proved to be a little challenging. So this is a piece of thick whisper white that is 4 1/4 by 11, and then a piece of white that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's got the tiniest border, and it's white on white. So start with the greeting, and I used "Thanks so much." Now I love working with this grid paper that has the colors because it's pretty easy for me to figure out where my center is. I use my grid paper. Now that's not to say but it's the colors that help me. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. All right, so I've roughly marked the center. And then again, we're going to go back and use the Evening Evergreen as our green, and we're going to use Polished Pink as our pink. Those are both new in colors for 2021. And I stamped my greeting in black the first time. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it in Evening Evergreen this time. So I have my greeting on a D block. And roughly in the center, there we go. Then to get the spacing of the flower, you might want to stamp the first flower start to finish and then do your other two. This was hard in class because we're sharing the stamp set, and it was you ended up waiting a while. So the other thing that I always do with the flower, I have to remind myself, and I forget frequently, is that I am always tempted to put the petals at 12 and 6 and not leave room for a stem. So I want to be sure I leave room for a stem, so I need to shift that a little bit. This one's not quite so solid, but I am going to give it just a few seconds. Okay. Now, I don't like to leave multiple ink pads open at one time because that's just asking for trouble. And I do need multiple lengths of my stem in order to get the number of leaves that I've used. Okay, I'm all right with that. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my leaves, and that will help me space my other flowers. And those may or may not be even at all. Time will tell. And at this point, I think you're safe to go ahead and add the flower on either side. And then come back with your green. Oh, and see, I did it. I did not leave room for the stem. And I'm just going to stamp enough of that to relatively, oh my gosh, that's not good, line up with the bottom of that one. Oh my gosh, I didn't do my stem on either side. Driving too fast. And then space these leaves in between the others on the center card, which is not going to do anything for hiding my boo-boo. That's okay. Flowers in nature aren't straight, and it's just fine. Okay, and then we're going to just adhere this down, and you know, why not pop it up and add a little more depth. Sometimes simple stamping means just stamps, ink, and paper, and then sometimes that can be a little more difficult than adding paper and die cutting. Okay. Then this has just the tiniest mat. And no embellishments at all. So there are the two. Okay, so let me get out the samples again, and then I will sign off. I'll put these back here. The tutorials obviously are finished. You saw the printout. And I went ahead and made the envelope for that one. And then this is our first. So I think I've gotten those almost all in the frame. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching today's class. This is the July 2021 card class. It's always the third Thursday of the month, unless there's a conflict that pushes it to the second or the fourth. And the ordering special is good through Monday, so that you can take advantage of getting the kit. So free with a qualifying order, and I will post the details of that ordering special in this group, and I'll send out an email with it. And remember, if you are a member of my team, then you have access to the tutorial if you want just the tutorial only and want to make your own cards. So everybody, have a great day, have a blessed weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.